to our body. They are support structures. They are also protective structures. They are involved in body movements. They're serving as levers. And they contain tissues that produce blood cells as well as storing inorganic salts. So bones provide shape for our head, our face, our thorax, our limbs. They provide support for our body weight, bones of our lower limbs, especially pelvis, vertebral column. The skull bones are there to protect our brains, the extension of our brain, our our eyes, as well as house the organ of hearing, our ears. Bones in the rib cage and the shoulder girdle protect the heart and the lungs. Bones of the pelvic girdle are going to protect internal reproductive organs and the lower abdominal organs, where bones and skeletal muscles will provide for movement. Hematopoiesis, not we have some similar words to hematopoiesis, but hematopoiesis is the formation of blood cells. It occurs in red bone marrow. Red blood cells are produced there, as well as white blood cells and platelets. All these cells, all the formed elements we will find in the blood, begin their lives in the bone marrow. As we age, some of the red marrow is replaced by yellow marrow, and the yellow marrow is a great place to store fat, but is not producing blood cells. Eventually, only our flat bones will have red marrow in them. The inorganic salts are mineral salts. The most abundant are salt crystals of hydroxyapatite, which is a calcium phosphate. However, there is magnesium, sodium, potassium, and carbonate ions in blood as well. Osteoporosis, you may have heard of, is a condition that results from the loss of bone mineralization. Calcium is very important in bone, but calcium is very important in many different chemical reactions that need to occur in the body, some of which would be more lethal than not having calcium in bone. So calcium calcium can be added to the blood from bone or removed from the blood when there is too much. And the hormones that do that are parathyroid hormone for certain, and there is and calcitonin at high enough levels can do that as well. So the thyroid gland has receptors, and if blood calcium levels increase, the cells in the thyroid sense that increase. The thyroid gland releases calcitonin. Calcitonin works on osteoblasts to deposit calcium in the bone marrow, and that should bring calcium levels back to normal. I don't know how much your book is going to get into it when we get to the endocrine system, but the effects of calcitonin are not really supported with the biological levels of calcitonin we see. That is not the case for when blood calcium levels decrease. Parathyroid hormone is vital for maintaining calcium levels. If calcium levels decrease, there are receptors that will sense the decrease, and the parathyroid gland will release parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone will go to work on osteoclasts and begin the process of breaking down bone, releasing that matrix into the blood to return calcium levels to normal. So we have a very good control when it gets too low. The evidence is a little shaky on calcitonin and being too high in the blood. Fragility fractures are fractures that occur from a fall of less than standing height, and they can tend to show a sign of low bone density. Bone remodeling is going to occur throughout our lives, but with age, osteoclasts tend to remove more bone tissue than osteoblasts put down. That can result in osteopenia, which is bone loss, and that can progress to osteoporosis, which is a severe bone loss that's going to leave spaces in the bone and weaken them. It's estimated that about half the people over 50 have one of the bone loss conditions. Osteoporosis, we know postmenopausal women are at a higher risk of that, and we believe it's related to changes in hormones. To prevent those fragility fractures, you should get at least 30 minutes of exercise per day. Some of that should include weight-bearing exercise. Also, you want to get enough calcium and vitamin D. And smoking is not only bad for your lungs and every other system we're going to talk about, it is bad for bones and the prevention of fractures in bones. And I'm going to stop there.